Everyone, please keep it going for Nick. A little bit louder for Nick, everybody.
Such an insult. I'm not that small. I'm fun size. I was listening to Fleetwood Mac on the way over here. That's my business, not yours. And Landslide came on. And one of the lyrics that always kind of sticks out to me is how she says, time makes you bolder. And I tend to kind of disagree with that because I really disagree with that, to be quite honest with you, as the older I get. Because when you're older, you know the risks you take, there's consequences for your actions. You know, when you're younger, I mean, you think you're invincible, you think anything happens, it can be corrected. You know, you don't know any better. Experience hasn't taught you that risks aren't necessarily the greatest thing to take in the world. And it made me think about this time when I was young. I was going into 8th grade, and me and my group of friends, we were, God, I guess like 13 to 15. We were 13 to 15. That's better. We were 13, 15 years old, and we had just discovered alcohol. And, you know, as teenage kids do, you know. And one night we were drinking. It was the summer, and it was on a Thursday night. And my brother had this wonderful idea. He goes, you know, it'd be great if we did this during the day. Yes, so my friends are like kind of veering towards becoming degenerates at this point, like they're on the precipice. This was just like one of those things that just kind of pushed them over. So they decide to hatch a plot, and it's got to be like preteen Ocean's 11. The idea is that they would get beer the night before, and we would day drink during the day at my house. So I'm serious, this is how insane this was. It's even insaner 25 years later. So the plot was, this is what happened. They had me, I was like the goody two-shoes of the group of friends. They used to call me Pony Boy, because I didn't drink, you know, I didn't do anything wrong. You'd be like, stay gold, loser. And I was like, that's not nice. And so they made me do all like the lookout work. They're like, okay, you have to get up and find out what time your parents leave every morning. And then you have to be back home to figure out what time they get home to see what our window of operation is. So that Friday I got up and I found out that my mother left at 8 and my father left at 7:30. So I brought that information to them. Then the next stage of the plot was, okay, we have to get beer. Now lucky for us, we had a guy in our neighborhood named Julio who would always get us beer. But the best part was, he had no problem 2 years earlier ratting us out to our parents when he caught us lighting a bonfire. You know, buying 2 cases of Busch Light was not a problem at all, though. So he buys us 2 cases of Busch Light. Now the problem is he buys them cold. So we set that, we go, okay, all right, actually, no. We go, we're going to do it Monday. This Monday, we're going to do it when your parents leave. We're going to drink beer all day. We're going to do it at your house. And this is going to be wonderful. And I'm like, okay, well, I didn't want to be a part of this, but here I am. So they get beer from this guy Julio on a Sunday, but the problem is they don't know how to keep it cold. We have a problem now because you can't put it in the refrigerator. Mom and Dad are be like, why are there 2 cases of Busch in the refrigerator? You know, your father drinks Pabst. So they came up with an ingenious plan. There was a park by our house, so they decided to take all the bottles out of the case and put them in a black trash bag and keep them in the creek overnight to keep them cold. I mean, that's some like ingenuity, you know, for 15-year-olds. But the problem was, well, you're going to find out. So the next morning, everybody gets up at 7 o'clock. Now, 13 and 15-year-olds getting up at 7 o'clock, everybody's parents should have been like, why? So they get up, and then we also have 2 walkie-talkies. I'm at home base, they're at the park. So they all get up, they go to the park, and they go, okay, we've got a problem. Apparently overnight, it rained, and the bag broke open, so all the beers were scattered throughout the creek. So they had to retrieve the bottles from the creek. And then after doing that, they chirp me on our little, chirping, it's like a Nextel, okay? You know, on the walkie-talkie, and I'm like, okay, Mom just left, you know, it's go time. So then I see at the end of my street, 2 idiots walking up with trash bags full of beer. Like broad daylight, 8 a.m. 8 a.m. on a Monday. So they come in and there's 12 of us. There's 24 beers. I'm not drinking. They slide me a 20, which to like a 13-year-old is like, you know, an embarrassment of riches. And to clean up and to kind of do the lookout. So I said, okay. So everybody comes in, and both of my parents smoked at the time, so everybody starts smoking cigarettes. Everybody's drinking beer, and we said, okay, well, what are we gonna do? And my buddy goes, well, I have a bootleg copy of Boys in the Hood. So they drank beer and watched a bootleg copy of Boys in the Hood, where, you know, where it's like shaking, where the guy had the video camera, like if Jim, like, viewed a movie. And then when that was over, they decided, okay, well, let's play poker. So we had this gigantic kitchen table, and they're all playing like penny poker and whatever, and it kind of looks like, you know, the dogs playing poker, but with like teenagers, you know? And then, you know, there was a big risk involved because my mother was prone to coming home for lunch. Like, she would just randomly come home with lunch meat. Like, hey, boys, I brought lunch meat. Mostly because we had this pool in our backyard with a deck. It was like the Upper Darby Riviera, you know? So there was like always people there. So there was this big risk, and finally, these guys are playing poker, the radio's on, and the front door opens. And we had one of those really big wooden front doors, and it's like, creak! And everybody just scatters, and there's beer flying everywhere. And here we forgot one crucial element is my oldest brother was in college and he worked nights at Acme. So he walks in and he just sees a sea of drunken toddlers, like completely just betting money. And he's just like, I'm not dealing with this. I'm gonna be a teacher. Like, I'm going to bed. He goes to bed. So all of a sudden, everybody gets very, very drunk. Like, to the point my brother, he threw up a corn pop out of his nose. Like, two of my buddies, they hopped on their bikes and they just took off because they wanted to get their DUI career started early. Like, it just turned into like pandemonium. People were passing out, people were throwing up, and I'm trying to clean this mess up like, oh my God, what am I gonna do? There's beer spilled all over the carpet. It's just a nightmare. So finally, everyone kind of like passes out, gets up and goes home. There's a few stragglers, and I clean the house. Like, I clean the house like my mother should have known better, clean the house. And so she walks in, and no, actually what I should add is I took all of the trash bags, and I took all of the beer bottles and all the cigarette butts and everything, and I threw them in a big black trash bag and carried it down to the Wawa dumpster and just casually like dropped it off like I worked there, you know? So my mom's the first to arrive home. She gets home and she starts sniffing around. She's like, why does it smell like carpet fresh in here? Because remember, this is the early 90s and we just dumped chemicals all over everything and vacuumed it up. I was like, oh my God, Mom, the dog had an accident. I don't know what happened. He just pissed on the carpet. So we were somehow able to get away with it. We pulled the whole thing off. Everybody went home. Nobody got caught by their parents. The two guys on the bike somehow miraculously survived because they were the drunkest and they probably should have died. But it wasn't until years later, in 1999, that we went out to dinner with my dad. Me and all my friends, we took my dad out for his birthday, and we started talking about, we used to call it the Monday. And my dad goes, can someone fill me in because what's the Monday? And he looked at me, we told him the whole story, you know, and he was not happy. But then at the end, when I told him, like, I was like, Dad, you know, Mom came in. When I told him about his wife and how clueless she was, he goes, I can't even be mad at you guys. He goes, I have to be impressed. I have to be impressed. All right, that's all I got. Thanks, guys.